It's a big stick aimed at getting parents to send their children to school. The federal government's announced it will introduce legislation next week to cut the welfare payments of parents who fail to get their children to class. A multi-million-dollar trial has already been running across Queensland and the Northern Territory. But some people question whether the policy really works and if the cost is justified. From Darwin, Katrina Bolton reports.
Without education, Indigenous children can end up illiterate, unemployable and on welfare for life. The federal government says desperate times call for desperate measures.
When you have attendance as low as 40% or even 38%, then you've got a significant issue.
The federal government already has a trial linking school attendance to parents' welfare payments in 44 schools. It'll expand the policy to an extra 13 territory communities, as well as to townships like Alice Springs. More than 10 unexplained absences a term and the government steps in.
This is about sitting down with parents and agreeing an attendance plan. It might be something as simple as saying to the parents, we want you to walk your kids to school.
The territory and federal governments say the threat of losing welfare payments does work.
Anecdotal advice that I've had is that certainly the SEAM trial supports re-engagement of parents and children with the school, and I think that's a positive thing.
A trial linking welfare payments to school attendance has been in place since 2009. A Senate Estimates Committee was recently told it's cost more than $30 million. It was told 93 Territory parents have had their welfare payments suspended, but the data about its effectiveness is not publicly available. The lack of data on attendance changes has some people worried.
There's all this talk about evidence-based approaches to policy reform, and there are some serious questions about the extent of evidence that enables this to be considered for expansion.
Dr Chris Sara questions whether the big stick approach is the right one.
This is an approach that delivers a minimal return for exorbitant investments.
The Territory's Anti-Discrimination Commission is concerned the policy could impact disproportionately on Indigenous people. But one independent school in Alice Springs, which isn't yet part of the scheme, wants in.
Our Indigenous elders, council members, have argued for a long time that the government needs to apply sanctions to parents who do not send their children to school.
People who drink too much could also have their welfare payments more tightly controlled. The federal government's announced alcoholics could have welfare money quarantined. The government also plans to allow more individual communities to develop their own alcohol rules. Katrina Bolton, Lateline.